Get ready because the annular solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd is about to stir up some seriously tricky energy. And trust me, it's unlike anything that we've seen before. And why exactly am I calling this the most passive aggressive eclipse ever? You might have seen that in the title. It all comes down to Mars. Right now, Mars is stuck in its weakest position in Cancer, which is where it's at its fall. And it's caught in a tense T-square with the eclipse and the lunar nodes. Mars in Cancer doesn't express its anger directly. Instead, it sort of simmers, waiting to explode in the most unexpected ways. Not only that, but this fated eclipse energy is also connected to Mercury in the sign of Libra. Normally, when Mercury moves through Libra, we're gifted with clarity, fairness, and the ability to deliver tough news in a way that is tactful and more easily well received. But not this time around. In this eclipse configuration, Mercury is combust, which means it's locked in a close conjunction with the sun, and this is not a good thing. This energy scrambles our thinking, leaving us second-guessing every decision and tripping over our words. And it gets a little worse. Mercury is actually squaring off with Mars in the sign of Cancer, and Mars is the planet of conflict. That means that heated arguments, sharp disagreements, and people snapping at anything that threatens their sense of equilibrium will become commonplace over these next couple of weeks. Make no mistake, this eclipse season is going to flood us with disruptive, game-changing information, and our reactions are going to be intense. Not to mention, this is the final eclipse we'll be having in Libra for roughly 8.5, 9-ish years, so there's a lot to unpack here today. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know to navigate the annular solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd, which is already super active, by the way, including a forecast for all 12 signs. And before we dive in, make sure you like this video, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology update, and comment below and let me know what you've been experiencing during this eclipse season so far. Also, I just wanted to mention that my Medical Astrology Foundations course is finally back open for enrollment. A lot of you have been asking about this. A lot of you have been on the wait list. And you'll save $100 when you join us before October 1st, so before the eclipse actually happens. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the powerful connections between astrology and health, my Medical Astrology Foundations course is the perfect next step. In this immersive self-paced program, you're going to learn how to confidently interpret key health indicators for both wellness and illness in the birth chart and deliver life-changing readings for yourself and for your friends and family, and especially for clients. Whether you're an astrologer on a self-healing journey, or if you're somebody who is working with clients actively, or you're a healer of some kind, this course will equip you with the tools to uncover hidden influences on physical and emotional well-being that you can't get access to with any other modality. Plus, you'll have lifetime access to all the course materials and ongoing support as part of the Cosmic Wellness Academy, which is my brand new big medical astrology program. Medical Astrology Foundations is level 1. Enrollment is now open at the link down in the description below, so get started using medical astrology today. I hope to see you in class. So let's dive back into the general astrology forecast, and you're definitely not going to want to skip this one. This is going to provide an important context for what we're going to be discussing in the forecast for all 12 signs. And there's a lot to unpack here with this eclipse. This is a massive, life-changing, very friction heavy energy. And so you're going to want to know what you're dealing with before we dive in. And so this eclipse is, as I mentioned before, an annular solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. And so let's start there. Annular eclipses are the second most potent type of eclipse, second only to a total solar eclipse. That means that this is going to be a strong, powerful energy that's going to be felt at its peak about, I would say, 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, but especially 10 days before and 10 days after. That's where we have the peak of the intensity. That's where we have the peak of the strangeness. That's where we have the peak of the signs, the synchronicities, the karmic experiences and events. But these eclipses don't just last at their peak moment. They are activated and reactivated as these potent eclipse points, such as the 10th degree in the sign of Libra, because this is happening at 10 degrees Libra, when there's transits to the lunar node. That's going to be another major activation period. And so as we move on past this eclipse into the month ahead and into the months ahead, there are going to be reactivations of the eclipse energy, but it all starts here and it all peaks here. And so this time period is a period of massive change and transition for a lot of people, especially people who have really strong cardinal sign energy. And so the cardinal signs, if you're not aware, are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And so if you have a heavy emphasis of planets in those signs, you're going to be feeling this the most. And if you don't know how to figure out what's going on in your chart and what these signs mean and where your planets are, make sure you check out my Astrology 101 quick reference guide, 100% free to download, down in the description below. That's going to help you get way more out of these general, free forecasts that I give you on YouTube all the time here, because you're going to be able to understand what's going on in your own chart. And then you can kind of have a context for the transits and this eclipse and how it's going to be impacting you. So start there. And even if you have a general idea of your chart, the Astrology 101 guide is going to give you a lot of information about the signs, planets, houses, aspects, rulerships, so much more. So you're going to want to have that on hand regardless. But anyway, the cardinal signs, especially if you have planets between really anywhere from 0 to 20 degrees. I mean, because we have this configuration and this really interesting T-square with Mars at 15 degrees in the sign of Cancer. And so there's a big span of places in the chart where you're going to be feeling this most intensely, but especially where you have planets around 6 degrees and around 10 degrees, because the nodes here are around 6 degrees. The sun and moon, which are part of this configuration, a solar eclipse is always a new moon eclipse. They're going to be at 10 degrees. And so those are going to be the really, really heated placements. Again, especially in all the cardinal signs, not just in Libra. This eclipse is also a South Node eclipse. A South Node eclipse is a karmic experience of moving away from something that is past its expiration date. It's about dealing with repeating patterns that we no longer need to be going through again and again and again. We've learned the lesson. It's time to move on. And so if you're holding on to anything that is stuck, stagnant, stale, if you're holding on to anything in your life, and that could be a relationship, that could be a job, that could be a project, that could be any sort of situation that is not really helping you move forward anymore, now's a time where that's going to create a lot of friction for you. That Mars-Mercury energy is going to make it at the forefront of your consciousness. You might be ruminating about it. You might be feeling a lot of anxiety about it. You might have actual messages coming in and friction coming through outside sources, like through outside relationships or through messages that you're getting from people that would be causing you to rethink what you're doing and to think about actually purging something from your life that you've once held dear. And the reason that you're holding on to it is likely because you don't want to rock the boat. You want to maintain that Libra sense of equilibrium, that balance. You want to do what you think in your brain is fair and just and, the right thing to do for everyone. By doing that, by holding on to something that is toxic to you, that isn't working for you anymore, you're really not doing anyone any favors. And so this is about moving on and letting things go. This could also be about reintegrating lessons from the past and bringing them back into the present moment in a new way. That could be a big thing too, because the new moons are about endings and new beginnings. And even a South Node eclipse can bring new beginnings, but those new beginnings are tied to something really important, like a pivotal energy, event, or moment from your past or from a past life experience. And so something is coming through right now that you need to let go of. For most people, there's going to be something with that, especially because not only is this a South Node eclipse, not only is this a new moon eclipse, it's the last one we get in Libra for 8 to 9 years. So, last chance to jump ship. And so that's going to be a big thing, but also last chance to bring something back in, right? If there is something that you need to bring back into the mix, like a talent, a gift, an experience, a lesson from an experience, this is the last chance to kind of bring that back in and reincorporate it in a new way and to use that reset for both, because there's something that you need to let go of in order to make space for something new or to make space to bring back that aspect of your life, your path, your destiny that you've since let go of. So those are all big things that are coming up here. This eclipse, Like I said before, it's a tricky one. I don't love the Mars energy. I see this, especially with the Mars Mercury, as a lot of really shocking, angry, kind of like hateful types of speech coming through in the collective and in the media. So I think things might get heated. There's a lot going on right now between things going on with celebrities and things going on with politics and the elections here in the United States. And also, of course, wars going on. So I don't love this energy for the news we might get. That being said, don't allow what's happening outside of your sphere of influence to take up too much space and create too much anxiety. Because right now, it's not about trying to control what's going on. It's about realizing that you need to relinquish control and let it go. Like, there is a potential here for people who are prone to rumination and anxiety to become much more anxious. The cardinal signs are already more prone to anxiety. Mercury combust is an anxious energy. And then we have Mercury and the sun and the moon square Mars, all very anxiety provoking. And so if your nervous system is not settled, if you are dysregulated at baseline, this time period might feel more difficult for you, even if nothing's actually happening externally. And so this is a really important time to think about your self-care routines. This is a really important time to do what you need to do to regulate and calm your nervous system. Don't take on too much right now. Plan lightly, because it's likely you're going to have to purge, move on, pivot. There's going to be life-changing revelations and events that'll come in that will shift things in a different direction. It's kind of like you thought things were going one way and you're having to change course like pretty quickly right now. And it's like obvious where things aren't working. It's obvious where you need to move on at this point. So yeah, I feel like that's a lot already. But for those of you who are feeling amped up, who are feeling anxious, who are feeling unsettled, really great practices for this are going to be anything mercurial. So writing and getting it all out on paper, maybe actually writing it down before you say it to somebody, because we're going to get into that in just a second here. Words will be exchanged. Writing it down, thinking it through, spending some time doing mercurial things like breath work, doing something where you're working with your hands even, because Mercury does rule the extremities and like the fingers and things like that. Doing things to occupy your mind in a productive fashion when it feels like it's getting stuck in a pattern of habitually focusing on something that's maybe not so productive. That could be really important as well. And the Mercury-Mars energy, this is where faded messages are coming through in a way that's unwelcome or shocking, where people are going to be a little bit more reactionary. So we will see more arguing. We will see more fighting. We will see more people just being more reactive and overreactive to things. But we'll also see a lot of passive aggressive energy, because that is the nature of Mars in the sign of Cancer. It's the most passive aggressive placement in the entire possibility of configurations that we have here in astrology. Mars is aggression. It's in its fall in the sign of Cancer. Cancer does not like to face things head on. Think about Cancer being like a crab. Crabs kind of walk sideways and back and forth and zigzaggy. They don't just like plunge forward. They take the roundabout way. And so there's a defensiveness there for sure, and the potential for hurt feelings, but there's also the potential to not release it or express it in the healthiest of ways. And so that can lead to problematic conversations and communications. And so what I want you to do is to get into the habit these next few days of responding and not reacting to things. So somebody says something, passive aggressive, or you can feel that passive aggressive energy, or maybe you want to be passive aggressive. Think about just taking a breath, taking a couple breaths, and give yourself space to respond and not react, especially when it comes to the words that you say. Words you say in haste right now can change the course of your path, your destiny, in a way that is not ideal and not really reversible, because that's what's going on. That's where we're at right now, you guys. This is the eclipse season. This changes things. On the flip side, you might be on the receiving end of that, and there's nothing you can do about it other than kind of take a step back and respond instead of reacting. A lot of what's going on right now is going to feel like it's beyond your control, because the South Node eclipses are those eclipses where it feels like you're, just running around headless. It's the dragon's body without the head, right? You don't really know what the heck is going on or why or where this is leading. There's this like shadow over everything where it's like, I know something really important is going on here, but like, what the heck is all of this and how do I deal with it? And that's because you're not supposed to know. This isn't about you leading the show. This isn't about you doing what you want, like doing your will right now. This is more about you getting realigned with your fate. And for a lot of people, this is going to require a certain amount of friction that is going to kind of force you to move on from something, that's going to force you to reintegrate something. So it's like a necessary friction almost, where it's kind of like a pearl, like all the grains of sand that make a pearl, or, sanding something and polishing it and making it really smooth. There's a requirement that you have to kind of rough it up a little bit before it can turn into this like really beautiful thing. That's what this is. It's like, it's not gonna turn into the thing that you need for your path, for your destiny, for your life moving forward, unless you have that friction there and that discomfort there. So that's going to be a big part of this energy. So that being said, I wouldn't be scared of this eclipse, but I would definitely respect it. Like, there's definitely some intensity here. And definitely I would plan lightly. So those are my nuggets of wisdom and my advice for you. And so let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. So for Aries and for Aries rising, and I should mention, make sure you listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for this eclipse and this entire eclipse season. Your rising sign is the most predominant energy, not your sun sign. Your sun sign is secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this will be more internalized and subjective, so you'll have to kind of translate that in your brain as we move through the forecast. All right, so for Aries, rising sun and moon, for Aries, this energy is happening in your 7th house. There is something that you need to let go of, a repeating pattern, a karmic pattern involving your relationships. This is a been there, done that energy where you're not going to do it again. You're not going to make that same mistake, not just once or twice, but like for the 18th time. Like, you're ready to stop that. So if there is something that comes up, especially in a family relationship, a really difficult conversation, a message that comes through, a family member or somebody close to you says something that irks you and rubs you the wrong way, this is the last time that you're going to allow this to happen in the way that it's unfolding. This is where you're going to change the way that you react or respond to it. And maybe you do need to be much more blunt and upfront and harsher about it, or maybe you need to take that time and not be reactionary. It depends, because you're an Aries, on how you normally handle these types of situations with family members or with loved ones. If you're normally the one that just says what's on your mind, because you might be, you're an Aries, then this is the time where you maybe need to take a step back and think things through before you react. And you're going to react and do things in a different way. This could also be conversations that come up that disrupt your family relationships in ways that are very karmic, very fated, that they might not feel good in the moment, but there's a reason for this, and that reason will become clear later on down the line. And that is going to be a part of this energy for a lot of people as well. For those of you who are in partnership, take care to not speak in haste. Take care to not say something that is going to leave you either putting your foot in your mouth or regretting it, or that's going to damage the relationship beyond repair. You want to make sure that you're very thoughtful with your words. This might also be that you have a partner that's going through something. So your partner's going through a loss, your partner's going through a transition right now. And part of this energy is you supporting them, but again, making sure you're very tactful with your language and the way that you go about doing so. This could be a life-changing eclipse for you in all the different areas, but the changes sort of stem from relationships and they reverberate into your personal life, your your direction, your major life path, your life themes. This is going to reverberate into your home, your family, your property, maybe even your place of living, maybe even a move. This could reverberate into your career, and what you're doing out in the world for work, but especially in that area of family, home, that personal trajectory. Your life has been going through a lot of changes, Aries, these past 18 months ish. And so this is kind of the last final push where it's the last time to purge those relationships that don't serve you anymore. And it's the last time to bring those faded new relationships back into the mix, the ones that feel familiar, that feel comfortable, that you need to have on board. So you might have some new people coming in that feel familiar to you. And this is last chance to get yourself adjusted so you are on the right path and you are focusing on more of who you really are and the way that you really want to show up in the world. Because part of this is about letting go of relationships that are toxic so you can focus on your own growth and your own self-interest. It's like you need to be selfish right now, but it's not selfish to be selfish right now. It's what you should be doing because the astrology is allowing for that and pushing you in that direction for a reason. All right. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this energy is happening in your 6th house, which is in the house of health, work, and daily routines. So for you, there could be a little bit of a disruption going on here in that area of your life. Your work could feel kind of, I don't want to say toxic, but there's like something going on with your work where things feel really intense, really heavy. There's something that you need to move on from or let go of when it comes to some sort of work-related project. And there's something that you might need to bring back into the mix that's an old talent, an old gift, an old idea that you let go of in the past that's maybe important for you to bring back into the mix moving forward. It's part of your new path moving forward. Definitely, I would say work-related relationships could be strained. There could be conflicts, arguments, disputes, disagreements, things like that come up for you right now. And so you want to be cautious about what you say and who you say it to and your reactions and responses to things in the workplace. There could also be fated occurrences that come about involving not just work, but also health. And so if there is a bad habit that you've been holding on to when it comes to your health, this is the time to let it go once and for all, especially if it's a repeating pattern that you've been dealing with time and time again for years and years. Like if you keep trying to like eat something healthy, like to be on a healthier diet and nutritional plan, and it always fails and you always go back to eating the same thing, and then you don't feel your best, you don't look your best. This is just a very kind of mundane example, but you know that it's not good for you, but you're doing it anyway. This is the time where you're going to purge that habit once and for all, right? That's one example. If there's something else in your life maybe you didn't realize was keeping you sick or keeping you not feeling your best, but now it comes back up and you're like, wow, this has been ongoing for so long, and why didn't I see that this is what was holding me back? Like, this is a time where that can come up for you, and you might need to move on and move past it. This energy could also bring fated resets and karmic occurrences involving pets and animals. Take extra precaution with your animals right now. I could see with this configuration, animals running away, things like that. And I have seen this for people before. So like when it happens in their actual birth chart. So, make sure your pets are up to date on their microchips. Do that now. Make sure that they're wearing their collars and that their tags are up to date with their information, the correct information. Go and make sure your gates are secure, and just make sure there are no loose ends where they can escape or something bad could happen. If you do that, you should be fine, but you want to take extra care there as well. I would say that this energy is best used for transforming your routines on a day-to-day basis and letting go of routines and situations in your day-to-day life that are toxic. And so this is going to feel like a huge weight lifted once this eclipse is done, but there's a little bit of tension required to push you into making that move and letting things go. And then for Gemini and Gemini rising. So for Gemini rising, this is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of children and play and fun and spontaneity and creativity. And so this is a little bit of a nicer eclipse energy for Gemini, sun, moon, and rising people. So good job with that, because this is a very kind of spicy eclipse. So For you, there could be tension going on involving your money and your financial situation. Like there's a big expense that comes through, or a big change, or something that comes through in a message that causes you to have to spend some extra money. But for the most part, I don't think there's a ton of conflict for you because it's mitigated so nicely, especially if your sun, moon, or rising is anywhere around 0 to, let's say, 15 degrees. You have a nice thing going. So this is a time for you to let go of anything that's holding you back from fully expressing and embracing your creativity. This is a time to let go of anything that is stopping you from doing the things that you love, from connecting with your joy, from connecting with your heart. What does your heart want? What brings you joy? What brings you excitement? What has brought you joy and excitement and fulfillment on that more passionate level, on that more creative level, on that more personal level in the past that you've let go of, that you maybe need to bring back around and into the mix? All of these things are going to be called into question right now. There could also be fated karmic occurrences involving children that could come up right now. So if you have children, there could be changes or shifts in the dynamic of your relationship with your children or in your children's lives that are really profound and really important. And those shifts could be financially costly, and there could be some tension or some arguments with your children even, or around this expenditure involving your children that could cause a little bit of friction and tension. And so that could be where that Mars comes into the mix. But ultimately, there's something here that needs to shift, that needs to change. It's something that's been a long time coming, where it's probably been, especially in the last 18 months or so, a thing that's been building and building and building. And now it's time to either let go of that situation, or it's time to bring something new into the mix and to deal with it in a not a brand new way, but a way that feels comfortable and familiar, or a way that has worked for you in the past. There could be, sometimes with the fifth house, there's something going on involving pregnancy. It's kind of like a shocking revelation around pregnancy. It might not be your own that could come in, where you get a message and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe, my sister's pregnant and she's 43 years old or something. It could be something like that, where it's great news, but it's like, whoa. Or it could be, your own surprise. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going about your romantic life. All right. And then for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this energy is happening in your fourth house, which is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. All very wonderful Cancerian things. Cancers, like to be in their comfort zones. Your home and your home life is very important to you. And right now it's being disrupted in some way. It could be that you need to leave a place or a location that you've been staying in because it feels comfortable, it feels balanced, it feels harmonious, and you're having to disrupt that state of equilibrium and you've been avoiding it. But now there's this impetus to move. There's this really big push, this motivation. There's something crunchy going on that's causing you to rethink it and to recalibrate and actually move on to the next phase. And so that could be a big thing for a lot of Cancer people. There could be arguments, disputes, disagreements with your family that you're causing. So to put it bluntly, when Mars is in your sign, and it's in your first house, especially if you're a Cancer rising, and it's squaring all this stuff in your fourth house, you might think it's them, but often it's the way you're going about saying things or not saying things. You're like a tea kettle about to explode right now, Cancer. There's this big tension, this big friction where it's ah! And you maybe don't know how to express it or utilize it appropriately, because that Cancer nature causes you to not want to directly confront things unless you have other aspects in your chart that say otherwise. And so there's something that you're not confronting that you need to make a move on, take hold of, express, but try to express it more directly, but also tactfully. That's going to be the key here, especially when it comes to your family. There could be a move that you're making or a move that you're thinking about making. So, that's a big one too. If it is, it's more of the issue isn't that you're moving. The issue is that you have to let go of your current space. And that could be hard for you, but it's probably something that needs to happen. And that's for the best, because it's definitely part of your path, part of your destiny. And overall, there could be changes going on for you, Cancer, big life-changing, fated changes that impact you directly, your life's path, your trajectory, that impact your most important relationships, that impact your family life and your home life, but also that impact your career. It's almost as if you have to let go of something or move on from something in order to create that expansion for your career. Not every Cancer rising obviously is going to be moving, but there's something, adjustments need to be made behind the scenes in your home life in order to make that space to move into what you want to create and put out there into the world. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leo, this is happening in your third house, which is the house of community. It's the house of your neighbors, your neighborhood, your immediate surroundings. It's also involved in communication and learning and education. There's something here that it's time to kind of move on from a certain idea or thought process around something. Also, I see a lot of times with third house energy, especially with Mercury being involved in this interesting configuration, there could be like some negative self-talk. So where are you your own worst enemy? Where are you talking badly about yourself? Where are you gossiping about yourself and why? Like, stop doing that, right? Like, this is about looking at your mental patterns and your habitual ways, that not just the ways that you think about yourself or that you think about your situation, but the ways you talk about yourself in your day-to-day communications and conversations with people. Are you putting yourself down? Are you humbling yourself when you shouldn't be? Are you like, what are you saying? Like, words are powerful. I mean, there's a reason that they say like words are spells, like it's called spelling, right? Like, words are powerful, and the things you say about yourself will eventually manifest. They'll become your reality. And so looking at why you're thinking these things, your negative self-talk, and letting go of that if it's a habitual thing. Catch yourself in the act of saying something bad about yourself and then just stop doing it. That's one really powerful way that you can use this energy, and it'll change your life in bigger ways, kind of with that ripple effect moving forward. There could also be someone behind the scenes gossiping about you. That could be part of it too. Hidden enemies coming to the surface, and you have to deal with it. And they're going about it indirectly. You're going to go about it more directly and more tactfully because you are forewarned, right? You're going to address this in the way that it needs to be addressed. There could also be an energy here of travel, vehicles especially. There could be a fated karmic occurrence involving a vehicle that could come up for you right now, where maybe you need to let go of a certain vehicle that you've been attached to and move on to something else, or let go of a commute or some sort of situation involving a vehicle or a commute. There could also be fated karmic travel plans that come up right now that could be quite interesting, but also very tense and very stressful. So keep that in mind. It might be something you need to let go of. Like, it's like you have this trip planned and it's like, oh God, this is like chaos. And you might just need to like cut the cord, right? This is not the time. You might maybe just need to surrender to what's going on in your environment and realize that your safety and your mental health is more important than, going out and doing this thing. There could also be fated karmic situations that come up involving your siblings and extended family members that change your relationship in some way. And there could also be situations like that come up with your neighbors, the people in your community and your neighborhood, where you kind of want to just let it go and stay out of it. It's like, why did I get dragged into this? And so it's a lesson in not letting everything that's happening in your immediate environment impact you personally. Okay, and then for Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgo, this eclipse energy is happening in your second house. There is definitely some change that needs to be made involving your financial situation. This looks like potentially there could be a loss of finances that comes up. Not like a huge, catastrophic thing necessarily, but there's something here where it's like an expenditure comes up, or you have to pay a bill for something, or, you just weren't expecting this. You weren't expecting your financial situation to go this way right now, and you have to deal with it. And it's stressful and it's frustrating and it's causing a lot of anxiety, but nipping it in the bud and just like letting go of it, that's going to create so much space for new money and new financial opportunity to come in on the other side of the spectrum, especially through outside sources, especially through investments, especially through, other people's resources, loans coming in, whatever it is for you. So I don't hate this energy for that, but it's almost like there's like some sort of friction where you have to deal with a financial situation that feels uncomfortable in order to make that space. And once you've dealt with it during this eclipse season, things open up for you, but you have to deal with it even if it feels scary. And so that's a part of this situation. And I don't want you to be afraid of this. It feels scary, but it's not scary. In the end, this works out for you. It's like if the friction weren't there, you wouldn't have rearrange things, or you wouldn't have let go of, that payment on that thing, or sold that thing that you don't actually need anymore. Like you wouldn't have sold the boat so you could pay off this debt or something like that, right? It's like, yeah, it's a tough choice. I don't like it, but in the end, it frees up a lot of energy for you. There could also be brand new financial situations that come in for you where there's a cosmic reset in the area of finances in a positive way, where something like an old opportunity from the past comes back around and you're able to shoot that kind of into the future and create more wealth for yourself through that situation. And it could be both. There's something you're letting go of and something new that you're bringing in financially that is going to cultivate more wealth and more opportunities for growth. And I would say difficult conversations are being had around money, and it could involve friends. Do not lend money to friends right now. Oh my goodness. That if you lend money to friends, that might be this whole thing. There might be arguments going on about this, and it's just causing a lot of chaos. And you're like, I'm never going to do that again. And that could be the end of that cycle. But yeah, for the most part, if you're dealing with it, if you're making the changes, this is going to open things up for you. So don't be afraid to deal with the friction head on. For Libra and for Libra rising, this new moon eclipse is happening in your first house, which is you. Lucky Libra, you have a lot of intensity going on right now, but also a lot of motivation. Like it feels really crunchy. It feels really frustrating. It feels like there's this buildup of energy that just needs to be released. You want to create something new. You want to move forward with something new, especially in the area of career, public reputation, what it is that you're putting out there into the world. And there's something going on here that's causing some tension. And you're not able to fully jump into it just yet, but there's a momentum that needs to be had here. Definitely there's something that you need to let go of personally. So there's like a lot of focus on you, what you want, what you need, that is not necessarily important to that end goal of how you want to serve other people, what you want to put there out into the world, your career goals and plans and goals and aspirations that might be beyond, your own self-interest and your own needs. Like these types of things are going to be coming up for you right now. This is also just you going through a major life change. Like this is a big transition point. It's been building for 18 months-ish now. And so this is the final purge, the final moving forward. It's kind of like, okay, I need to sacrifice something that I thought I needed. I need to sacrifice a part of who I thought I was in order to move forward bravely into this new path, this new life that I want to create for myself, and this life that maybe you want to create together with somebody really special, because that North Node in the 7th house is like feeling obsessed with this connection and moving forward in a new direction together with somebody else. Or it could just be, letting go of something so you can bring in that relationship in the future. But if you're partnered, like there's something that you're kind of boldly moving forward into together that requires you to humble yourself a little bit and let go of some things and to have some tough conversations. And also to just make sure that when you're talking with your partner, don't get reactionary. You're likely to feel, I don't want to say more, it's not like you're feeling like more sensitive. It's more like you're taking things, well, it's kind of like you're more sensitive because you're taking things more personally. It's like when somebody says something and it doesn't come out right, you're going to be likely to kind of explode on them or to be very passive aggressive and cause problems. And so you want to just make sure, again, that you're thinking about what you want to say before you go out and say it, and that you're responding and taking time to respond to things that cause you to feel upset instead of just reacting to them. Beyond that, though, really good energy for moving on from something that is no longer serving you. All right, so for Scorpio and Scorpio rising. This is a major period of endings for you. Oh my goodness. So this whole configuration of the annular solar eclipse in the sign of Libra with the South Node is in your 12th house, which is the house of endings. It's the house also of sorrows and self-undoing. So you want to make sure that you're not causing your own problems here. This is more about you letting go of being the cause of your own problems. This is more of letting go of things that are repeating karmic patterns that have followed you not just throughout this lifetime, but throughout many, many lifetimes. And over the past 18 months, it's become very apparent that these toxic traits, these toxic situations, these patterns in your behavior and in your experience are just not working for you anymore, and you don't need them anymore. And so that's going to be a powerful catalyst for you to change and to shift. This is also a time where fated karmic occurrences and messages can come to you through dreams. I know that this sounds like sometimes when I tell people it's all about your dreams and stuff, like they are like, oh, that's lame. I want something crazier than that. Count yourself lucky, Scorpio, because some people are getting it hard. But for you, I would say dream work and dream exploration is going to be huge. Like this is going to give you really important messages that come through, especially like reverberating from those past life experiences or that are part of your fate, your path, your karma, like the direction that you're heading into and what is coming up for you around this eclipse can be shown to you through dreams. Prophetic dreams can come through right now. So really important energy. If you used to be into like dream work or like lucid dreaming or like meditation, anything where you're altering your state of consciousness and you've let that go, now's the time to bring that back into the mix. Like that's what you could be pulled toward. There's also like a friction or some sort of conversation or communication, maybe about travel plans or with somebody who's at a distance or in a foreign country that could be unsettling to you, kind of unconsciously or emotionally or behind the scenes. Don't let that get to you. You want to make sure that you are sticking to your guns and doing what is best for you and staying in that space of like rest and reprieve. This is not an eclipse to just be out there in the world doing things. This is a time for you to take a step back and just pull yourself out of the day-to-day reality, the day-to-day grind. Your trajectory moving forward really depends on it. Like the messages coming through to you, that's what really this is all about. And you're not going to get that and you're not going to get it when it comes through to you if you're full of busyness. So pay attention to that. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for Sagittarius, this is happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, group associations, and people that you surround yourself with by choice. And so for Sagittarius rising people, there's something that you maybe need to let go of when it comes to old friends or old patterns involving friends, group networks, people that you surround yourself with by choice, where, you know, it might disrupt the status quo, but it needs to be said, it needs to be done. You need to move on. There could also be really intense or uncomfortable conversations happening with friends around the time of this eclipse or happening within your social networks that could lead to arguments, disputes, disagreements, fights. You want to be careful. Do not just say things. This is a time to really think through what you want to say and how you're going to say it before you say it. Not just in the important conversations that you think have a lot of weight, but in all conversations, because they're all going to have a lot of weight right now. And it's going to be the time that you just say the thing that's in your head without thinking that's going to cause the biggest ripple effect right now, especially when it comes to your social networks, your social support group, your friends. There could be power struggles, arguments, disputes involving, your friends and things like that. So don't get in the middle of it. Like, try to keep a cool, calm head if that is the case. This is also a time where faded connections could come in with just in networking events or when you're like doing things with groups. So this is not the time to shy away from being with your friends, because there's something really faded going on here that's going to launch you into the right path. It's almost as if connecting with the right people at this time, people that you feel comfortable with, even though you've never been around them before, it just feels familiar. These are like past life connections coming back into this lifetime. That's the way that you can kind of think about it. And these past life connections are here to cause a little friction, but that's going to actually pull you into doing the thing that you're most passionate about and really launching forward into it. So I love this energy for Sagittarius for not just like group connections, but even one-on-one, especially if you're Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 0 to 15-ish degrees. This is going to be trining your, or sextiling your sun, moon, or rising. And if you're a rising Sagittarius, this is going to be actually trining your descendant. There is something very fated that's involving a really important one-on-one connection. It could be a spouse or a significant other. It could be somebody new coming in, and it's connected to your social ties. And so this is going to change the entire trajectory of your life in a really big and powerful way. And so I actually like this a lot for Sagittarius. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising. For Capricorn, this energy is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. And even if you're not somebody who's working, it's the house that involves authority figures and your connection to people in perceived positions of authority, like people who you look up to, or people who are actually in positions of authority, like government workers and things like that. It's also the house of the legacy that you leave behind after your working years and what it is that you put into the world, the mark you leave on the world. And so something is changing here. There's a direction you thought your career was headed into, and over the past 18 months, it's become apparent that you need to do something different. It's also become apparent that you need to let go of something in your career and in your working life or out there in your public life that is hindering your ability to develop what you really want to develop when it comes to your family relationships, when it comes to your home life, when it comes to what goes on behind the scenes, right? Your personal life. This is about creating a work-life balance, and in order to do that, you're going to have some tough conversations with people. You're going to have to put up some boundaries, and you're going to have to let go of something that you might feel really attached to. And it could even be like a whole job. Like you might just be like, you know what? This is not good for my relationship with my spouse. This is not good for like what we want for our family. And I need to move on from this. I need to create something different. It could also be that this energy is good for cultivating a new experience with your career that brings back around something that you used to do in your past. So it's kind of like, all right, instead of doing what I'm doing right now, I'm going to go back to the thing, that 20 years ago I was really enthusiastic about. And by doing that, you're going to create a better balance between your work and your life. There could be, regardless of what changes you're making, your spouse, significant other, or somebody else who's really pivotal or important in your life, a one-on-one connection, could have words to say about this. And if they don't have words to say, they have an attitude about it because it is the passive-aggressive energy. You're going to have to deal with that and face it head on. But you're going to want to do it in a way that is responsive, not reactive, and very tactful. It's not going to prevent you from doing the thing. In fact, it might actually spark more of it's almost like a rebellion against it, it lights a fire under you and it makes you more passionate about doing the thing because you have to argue your point and argue your reasoning. But it is a thing that could be happening there. And the changes going on in your work life, your home life, that could reverberate into tension in your relationships, but it looks like it's coming from the relationship, not necessarily from you. It's coming from the relationship in response to the changes that you are making or that are going on in your life right now. And so, just deal with that wisely. Forewarned is forearmed, and, you'll be fine. All right. So for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this new moon annular solar eclipse in the sign of Libra is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of your beliefs about God, the universe, the world around you, your philosophies, your religious value systems, all of these frameworks for your understanding of reality. There is a reality shift going on for you, Aquarius, a big one. There is a way that you used to think about the world. And over the past 18 months, you're starting to realize that worldview is no longer serving you, and that it's probably not correct, and that you don't even know where it came from because it probably came into this lifetime with you from some sort of past life experience, and your experience in this lifetime is proving it otherwise. So you have to let go, you have to move on. Some of you might be actually letting go of your connection to a religious community. That could be a big one where you're like, all right, this isn't working for me. I'm finally actually moving on from that. And that could cause some friction. Some of you might be just letting go of an ideology. And even though it's a mental thing, it could be still causing some friction. Like you used to stand for this thing, right? You used to stand for this belief, and maybe you were very vocal about it. It can be very humbling to have to realize that you're wrong, and people might have some backlash against that because it's like, wait, I thought you believed this. I thought we were on the same page. How could you possibly not believe the same thing as me anymore? That could definitely be a thing. There could also be arguments and disputes about beliefs within the workplace. Try to stay out of that. You don't necessarily need to bring it to work unless you absolutely need to bring it to work. I mean, that could be a thing, like where what's going on at work is so against your moral and ethical value systems that it needs to be addressed. And there could be some friction. It's best to be direct, but also to be tactful and to think it through. Like, don't just react to the thing that's happening in a self-righteous sort of way. You want to, have a balanced viewpoint and try to put yourself in their shoes before you speak. That's going to be not only the best way to deal with it so you don't cause like a big ripple effect and all sorts of problems, but that's usually the best way to actually get your point across, right? So that could be a thing too. There could be faded travel plans that are coming up for you right now to go to a place that you do have a past life connection to or a past connection to in this lifetime. And that could be really big. It doesn't mean you're traveling right now. You could be. If you're traveling right now, that's faded, travel that is going to change your world in a huge, huge way and change your worldview in a huge, huge way. But it could also be something that comes up right now for the future. Or you might be having to let go of travel plans right now where it's like, I was going to do this. I was so excited, but I have to cancel this because, A, B, and C is coming up. And it could be a work-related dispute too. For other people who have Aquarius rising, this could have to do with moving on or letting go from some sort of educational pursuit or starting a new educational pursuit. Some of you might be actually starting a new course or a new higher educational program. It could be that you're going back to school. Like, so you went to college and you're going back and getting another degree, or maybe you're going back and finishing your degree, or you're finally incorporating what you learned through your college education into your life in other ways. Like maybe you got a degree in something that you never used and now you're finding an opportunity to use it. That could be huge and really powerful. And you might have to fight for it. You might have to, it's not like it's like, oh, I'm doing this and la la la, it just happens. It's almost like you have to push for it if that's something that you want to make a reality for yourself. Overall, for Aquarius, this is a much nicer energy than for most of the other signs because this is going to be trining, this eclipse is going to be trining your ascendant sun or moon, especially if you're an Aquarius rising anywhere from 0 to 15-ish degrees. You're going to be feeling this powerfully and positively. And, that could be it's almost like these beliefs that you're changing or this change in your values is reverberating into the way that you live your life and show up in the world. And that's having a very positive effect on you overall. So love this energy for that. And then finally, last but never least, Pisces and Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this is happening in your 8th house. This is a difficult energy in general when you have anything going on in your 8th house, Pisces, because it's the house of fear. It's the house of anxiety. It's the house of our past traumas that are still lingering. It's the house of our psyche and psychological issues. And so there's something going on here that you've been holding on to, a fear from the past that's based in reality. It's based in something that happened to you. But it's coming back up in a way where you're realizing this doesn't serve me. This isn't right. This isn't real. This isn't applicable in the present moment. For some of you, you might be like very literally dealing with some sort of psychological issue or psychiatric issue, like engaging in therapy or engaging in some sort of treatment right now. That absolutely is important. Like there's like an energy of needing to move on or let go of whatever this issue is, so that way you can move on to something new. For some of you, there might be something going on here where there's friction involving finances and joint finances, especially joint finances in marriage, taxes, debt, other people's money, insurance payouts, insurance claims, inheritance, all those types of things are a big part of this energy for you. And so there could be something new coming in with that, but it could also be something going out, or I would say there could be something fated going on involving like a death or somebody's will or somebody's inheritance that could come up for some people, and there could be some friction around it or some dispute around it where it gets a little clunky, it gets a little difficult, but overall it's kind of like you have to surrender, like you don't have control over the entire situation, and that's okay, and in the end it will work to your benefit and things will work out. But right now it's more about the surrender process. There could be new opportunities coming in for you involving investments and things like that. But this is more about letting go. It's like you have to sell an investment almost, and you have to move on from it. Like you don't need it anymore. It could be that your partner's moving on from a job or a career path, and so their money is, not as fluid as it was before. Or maybe they're coming back into an old career path. And again, it changes the financial situation or the financial dynamic in some way, and that could be a big part of it too. It's an interesting one. I would say this is a time to take care of your mental health. This is a time to do the deeper inner work for sure. And this is a time where if the financial situation is feeling really tense or intense, it's more psychological than real. In a lot of cases, there's a real thing going on, but it's like the psychological component is the issue. And so a lot of you might be feeling more anxious right now. You might be ruminating on things, obsessing over things right now, not just financially, but just in general. And so this is a time to check your mental state and to make sure that you're doing your self-care practices to calm your nervous system. And if you have a fear or something that you're like really ruminating on that is just sticking with you, it's probably tied to the past and not to what's going on in the present moment. So you're going to want to examine that. Like ask yourself, is this true right now? Is this what's happening right now? And if it is, like, is it as bad as my brain wants me to think it is? Like, what is the evidence that supports this or does not support what I keep fearing and what I keep thinking about over and over again like this? So you have to kind of think it through and work on detaching yourself mentally from anything that's going to be causing that sort of unsettled state. Yeah. Okay. But for the most part, I would say this is a really powerful time to let go and heal from any past wounds, any past trauma, any past fears, any past anxieties that are no longer serving you. This is a big healing moment for you, for Pisces. And so take advantage of this. Like do the work and, let it go, move on, and you're going to feel much more empowered moving forward after this eclipse season. All right. And so that is my forecast for the annular solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like the video, share it with a friend if you feel like they could benefit from the information that I shared with you today, because there's a lot going on here and a lot of people are having things come up. Let me know in the comments how this is impacting you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.